So yeah, as you can see from the title, this is going to be maybe potentially in 2 parts with a little Q&A after. It depends how quick I get through these, which hopefully it will be. And this is one of them 10 for lives, except there's 12 and 13 with an honourable mention. Well, a forever one, shall we say. So it's yeah, it's 12, I think. Anyway, there's no need for waffling. It's always interesting to see, like I say, how these change over times or don't change. So yeah, we'll crack on. So before we kind of get into it, that kind of special forever, more than an honourable mention, but we're not putting it in the list because it's so kind of important, and that's Joop Homme. This was kind of my first, and yeah, it's always going to be special. It has all that nostalgia. It takes me back in time, but I still love wearing this one. I think it's quite a timeless legend, isn't it? I know it's not for everyone, but it is a fantastic fragrance. Orange blossom, cherry, you know, jasmine, all these kind of musks. So I don't really need to waffle. We know it's that kind of 90s legend. We all know it. Some people allegedly hate it. It's a forever fragrance, and it would always make these lists, but it's not, so that have an odd number. Okay, Joop Homme. Now, are they in any order? Sort of. It's really difficult doing this, isn't it? Kind of, they're in order. But the other one, I mean, you'll be able to predict practically all of this list, but is obviously Kilian's Rolling in Love. And again, this is what I thought this could be quite brief because I speak about them so much. Rolling in Love, as we know, is just a fragrance of endless musks and sensuality, and it's one of them you want to snuggle up to, or it will snuggling leading to, what's the word, forking? The spooning leading to forking, that's it. Maybe, or just tender kisses and what have you. It's ambrette and a lot of different musks with a little soft tuberose, and I think there's little bits of jasmine, alleged iris, freesia apparently, which I never smell. And it's just basically a soft skin fragrance, soft tender skin, and that's Rolling in Love from Kilian. Then another one I may have mentioned once or twice, and that's Tom Ford's Noir. I'd smelt versions of this, and then I'd smelt the main thing, and honestly it just takes your breath away. Now I wanted to own this kind of went up to the top of my list, but Tom Ford prices, yeah. But I got lucky and got a bottle from a dear friend for a slightly more sensible price than that, and we know this is kind of what you call a kind of vampire scent, maybe. It's dark rose, red wine, truffle, beautiful kind of woods, and then the dark patchouli and oud, slight hint of oud in the bottom, giving it perhaps more of a dangerous feel. And it's very seductive. Is it kind of a masterpiece? I've been having conversations about this. It's the best of its type. Now there are things that have gone on a theme with this, but Tom Ford managed to have done this in a kind of magical, rich, sultry way, and that's yeah, that's what it is. Nothing quite compares to this, although the reformulations are apparently a lot sweeter and smoother and slightly different, but hey ho, that's Tom Ford's Noir. Then Lotus Rising from April Aromatics. This is just a fragrance that's very me. It's very serene, it's very calm, it's very natural smelling. It's a flower, well, a lotus, you know, in a muddy stream. Practically what this is becoming, in a lovely far off land where it's just all natural and untouched, and nature's taken over. There's all sorts of flowers everywhere. That little smell of a stream is quite lovely, even with the earthiness there, and obviously a little hint of the kind of greenness of it. But it's the sweetness of the lotus and that kind of, there's a lot more in it, but it does just kind of take you to this sort of almost meditation kind of place where you're just sat there watching the stream go by, watching the world go by, and that's all that's in your mind. So yeah, that's Lotus Rising from April Aromatics. Then we have Date with a Dame from One Way Bridge. Yeah, again, I spoke about this so many times. It is a musky tuberose. Let's just in its most kind of basic form. The tuberose has a slight cherry hint in this, and the musks are, as usual with One Way Bridge, quite magical, quite the main part. There's maybe a little bit of a kind of naughty tinge in there, but it's just a sultry floral that's not too much, but it's one that draws you in and kind of seduces you a bit. So yeah, I don't need to kind of waffle on and on about this. Like I say, this is my kind of lass on a motorbike, all gossed up, lovely tattoos, purple hair and all of that, who's come to kind of take you away full of confidence and being quite forward and intelligent, maybe even a bit dominant and that. Yeah, this is that fragrance, Date with a Dame from One Way Bridge. Then we have another big bombastic one. It's surprising actually how, when doing this list, I've noticed mine are either massive or delicate, but this is another massive one. And this again is another jasmine, another floral, and that's Portrayal Woman from Amouage. Now this is just one of the greatest jasmines you will ever smell, done in that Amouage style, a little bit of tobacco, a little bit, well, more cigarette smoke and a little bit of incense, the resins, but primarily it's jasmine with a little bit of the sweetness of tuberose, I believe, in there. And it is this kind of vintage back in the 1920s, 30s, you know, long cigarettes on sticks, fur coats, little flapper skirts and whatnot, and just that kind of, it almost gives you that kind of feeling like you want to give it some bebop dancing to some jaunty little old 20th century tunes and that. It's for an Amouage as well, it's relatively clean and easy to wear, although it's very big, but the tobacco and the little bits of the musks do give it that little bit of an Amouage wink there and a slight indelictness. Fantastic fragrance. That's Portrayal from Amouage. Then another absolutely massive fragrance, and that's Swedoft's Bohemian. Now this one was there's something about it. It is ginormous. Even, you know, for ones I'm saying are big, it's massive, and it can blow your head off. But there's just something about it. Does it need to be that strong is a thing, but it works is what I'm saying. It's not an obnoxious one, it's not a show off one, it's not full of aroma chemicals to scour people's eyebrows off. It's a little bit of kind of an oudiness. I think there might be cypriol. There's a lovely kind of rough leather, these kind of whiskey boozy notes going through it. And like I always think of it like your cowboy or your Viking scent. You know, you're riding a horse, you've got a hip flask or a horn or something, and you're drinking a bit of whiskey to keep you warm, but you're also really well dressed and elegant, and you know, you're going to walk into your meeting in that outfit and rock the place and own the place. And despite its having quite, to some this would be quite challenging because it is bold, despite that I think it comes across, I suppose it depends who wears it. On me, who might struggle sometimes with more challenging ones, it shines, it's beautiful. So that's Bohemian from Swedoft. Then we have Bouquet Encore. Now this, with the next one, stays as being very special because of how I came across it and how I got it. It was gifted with the next one for my birthday from fragrance folks, so yeah, of course that makes it special. But I also absolutely love it. There's no orange blossom in it, but to me it's this massive tuberose, this explosion of spices, pepper and warmth, with a kind of orange blossom richness and feel about it. It's a very dark orange fragrance to me, and it's warm, and it's beautiful for this weather. It's got the right, it's sweet, but everything's so rounded it doesn't come across as sweet, and the juxtaposition with the kind of dark spicy hot pepper, it just all goes together very well. And I suppose I see it as an explosion of spices and florals and colours. So that's Bouquet Encore from Parfums. Next is a Poupée d'Automne from Maison, which is, I'd say again, is one of my favourite houses. I could have picked many from them really, but this one possibly my favourite because it's the most me, and I've always said it's my melancholic violet, it's my contemplation, it's my peaceful, cool, dark place where everything's kind of grey and mauve, and that is like this cool chalky iris with a little bit of the sweetness of this kind of mauve violet flower, and I think there might be a little bit of rose. Everything is calm and crisp and cool, like autumn, but everything's gone, all the green and everything, and the sky is that colour, and that's where it kind of takes you, and it's a very relaxing one. It's actually good for walking and that, but it also, because of them notes and the way they work together, it is quite a I'm not sure I'd call this one seductive, but it is one I think people would enjoy on you. It's not your Missia or something like that. It's got a more of a calm elegance, a grey suit, you know, that kind of feeling, classy. Poupée d'Automne from Maison. Then another indie scent that comes in here, and that's from Aromanda's BedeauX. This one is such a, again autumn, but it's such a magical amber that you've never really smelt before. It's amber and orange primarily to me, but a dark orange, and you kind of get a rich, luxurious feel from an amber note, and obviously it's spices, there's woods in this, but it's kind of this golden colour, and it has that class and elegance you'd expect of your kind of ambers. The spice lifts it, but the orange, which I'm not a fan of in fragrance generally speaking, gives it this little bit of sweetness, this little kiss. And it's about, obviously the name's after an owl and stuff, and yeah, you can see an owl in a tree surrounded by the orange leaves and things like that, but it's actually quite versatile because of the orange. It's not just an autumn one. You could probably get away with this in spring and obviously winter and that. So yeah, it's a gorgeous one. That's Hibou from BedeauX. Then Purple Heart from Map of the Heart. This leads to one later on. Like I say, they're not really in order now, but Purple Heart is your Lolita Lempicka with more to it. It's Lolita Lempicka after a long journey around the world. They're a bit older, they've picked up some new things and that. So obviously in it is the violet, the kind of sweet dark fruits. But this one's got a load of smoke and the ink note, which makes it even more kind of darker and more mystical. It's like an illuminated cathedral with candles and roses on the wall, and you know, kind of purple furniture and that kind of gothic kind of scene about it. And it's just magical, you know. You can see Dracula on his desk with all this illumination around him, you know, with his little ink quill pen and writing away his memoirs and things like that, craving a little bit of something, you know, something a bit naughty and that. So that's Purple Heart from Map of the Heart. Then like you could probably see that what I struggled massively with this is only one from one house. You know, I've tried to not just have a list of the same things. But Chanel's Coco, so it's a difficult one picking a favourite Chanel, isn't it? But Coco is the one. Is it it's not always my favourite, but I suppose it's, you know, we're influenced by the weather as well. Coco is your kind of, you know, kind of vintage floral style, and it's the cloves for me. I just love cloves in fragrance. This kind of, when I was choosing, kind of bumped out Musc Ravageur, which is absolutely fantastic, but that's more pushing towards your gourmand, whereas this one just exudes that class, that elegance again of a time gone by. And it even takes you to the 80s of them big, bold, slightly animalic, statement making, massive fragrances. Obviously the new version has all that toned down, it's a lot easier, but it's still a very beautiful, kind of seductive, wonderful scent. So that's Chanel Coco. And finally, I already kind of spoilt it, didn't I? Is Lolita Lempicka's Lolita Lempicka EDP. Again, we all know this one, and I've spoke about it a lot. Dark licorice. Oh, there's licorice in Purple Heart, by the way, but dark licorice, violet fruit. A lovely muskiness about it, and it's smooth, and it's kind of 90s 2000 goth, isn't it? You know, where people would more dress up in that style, which was fantastic, and really pull it off, you know, black and pink checks and purple check and that kind of thing, you know, plaid skirt and fishnets and all of that. And it's a fun, easy one, but I'd never think of it as kind of being a kind of youthful one, really, because it has a lot of maturity in it. It has a certain element of class and sophistication. So yeah, I won't waffle on anymore. That's Lolita Lempicka's Lolita Lempicka, the EDP. So this was quite a self-explanatory list, and these are the ones that are on my forever fragrances, you know, my 10/12, you know, brackets 13 fragrances for life. There could be so much more on them, and if you asked me tomorrow, the core would be there, but they'd probably change a little bit. So what about you? What's your kind of fragrances for life? Do we have any in common? Do you find it really difficult to do this with a guilt that you don't love one as much as you think you do? This may be thanks folks, or it may be on to the next section, the Q&A.